Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is The Traveling Teacher. This is a lifestyle channel that's going to be focused on me as a teacher, me as a traveler, and me as a nomad in general, all right? But today's video is actually going to be focused on the New York City Teaching Fellows, which I am a part of. I am actually a fellow right now in the New York City Teaching Fellows. I just finished my summer internship in 2022, so literally just the other day, right? So today I'm going to be talking about my experiences. So how did I get into the fellows? What was the process like? How I am feeling about it right now? All of those things is what I'm going to be talking about today. So if you see me looking down, if you see me looking to the side or whatever, I do have some notes, scattered around my laptop, my phone, just so that I can give you guys the answers to the questions that I had when I was applying in January, because there were not a lot of videos on YouTube that were current. So let's just say there were not a lot of current videos on YouTube about the teaching fellows and people's experiences. And so I wanted to just provide that information for people who may have questions that they need answers. So again, I'm going to put my email down there too, so you guys can contact me, DM me what you need to do, so that if you have questions, I can answer them for you, all right? So the first question that I had is, when did I apply for the Teaching Fellows? So I applied for the Teaching Fellows I started the application January 29th of this year, right? So basically, I found out about the Teaching Fellows from a friend that lived in Wyoming. So I'm from South Dakota, right? Not originally, I'm from Jamaica, but I lived in South Dakota for over the last 7 years, right? So first, let's talk about how I even heard about the New York City Teaching Fellows. Disclaimer, if you hear some Biden noises, it's my dog playing with her bone in the background. So, and you might hear airplanes because I live by the airport. So just a disclaimer right there. So how I heard about the New York City Teaching Fellows. So I actually had a friend who lived in Wyoming at the time, right? He's from New York City, and back when the Teaching Fellows had just started, he was a member of that cohort, right? So when I met him, he told me about it at the time because I was actually trying to find basically a way to get out of South Dakota, and also just a way to career change, right? And teaching has popped up a few times in my life, right? So that's kind of how I found out about the Teaching Fellows. So before I even applied for the Teaching Fellows, guys, I actually applied for a teacher position at the New York City Success Academies, and I got the job, I believe, at the middle part of January, but I actually decided that that job was not going to be for me. I researched more. The salary that they offered, which was $50,000, y'all, not in New York City. I was just like, this is not gonna work for me. So I really was at like a standstill because I really wanted to get out of South Dakota. I really wanted to finally live in a big city. And so I remembered what my friend told me about the New York City Teaching Fellows, and I applied. So I believe I started the application January 29th, right? Because they kept sending me reminders, they kept sending me reminders, they kept sending me reminders. And then they sent me a reminder that the priority deadline was February 16th, but the final deadline was February 26th, right? So they kept sending me reminders, excuse me. So they kept sending me reminders, and I kept ignoring them. Finally, guys, January 26th rolled up on me. And that day, I had the day off, and I decided that, you know what? I'm going to apply for the New York City Teaching Fellows. So I applied for the New York City Teaching Fellows, submitted my application at 10:30 p.m. that night. The application included, I had my letter of recommendation, I had my unofficial transcripts that I downloaded from my application, or my university online. And then I also had my questions answered, because it was a lot of like essay type questions that you had to answer. So I had those like pre-written on my Word documents, and then I like copied and pasted, into the answer boxes on the application form. So I submitted that at 10:30, right? When I submitted that at 10:30, a week later, I got a phone interview invite on March 1st, right? So on March 1st, I got my invite, which was actually, I was surprised. So after I got my interview, I decided that I'm gonna sign up, because the thing is that like they send you the interview invite, you have to sign up online. One of those like Teams, whatever thing type. It's not exactly Teams, but it's one of those like calendar invite things that you can use, right? So I signed up for it, and I signed up for the date of March 5th. So when I signed up for March 5th, right, I was like, oh my God, I have to travel to Atlanta. Gotta go see my family, my mama, my sister, the babies, all of that. So I was thinking, I was like, oh my gosh. So that means I'm gonna fly out Friday night. I'm gonna get there late at night. Then I'm gonna have this interview at 9 a.m. But I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make it work. So I did the interview in my sister's dining room at 9 a.m. The interview was, I believe, between 15 to 30 minutes. It could have been 20 minutes, but just estimate 15 to 30 minutes, right? The interview, the tips that I'll give you is that like the interview includes a lot of role playing. A lot of role playing of you pretending to be a teacher, and the interviewer is pretending to be the student. So you're applying to be a teacher. It's a fellowship for teaching. So actually practice maybe with your, hey, my dog. I practice with my dog. So practice with your pets, practice with your friends, practice with your parents, whoever you could practice with, just to feel comfortable being a teacher. Because I'm going to get into the gig of how I feel right now as a teacher, my experience, which is a lot, all right? And that might be a whole separate video, but just know this role playing will prepare you to feel comfortable as time goes on as a teacher, right? So I did the interview on March 5th. I felt confident about an interview. I never felt as though I like really fumbled or stumbled or anything. I answered the questions based on what I researched online and saw the answers that they prefer. And so I was just like, let me just leave it in the Lord's hands, and the rest hopefully will be history, right? So on March 10th, I heard back. So I got the congratulations email, which maybe I'll put like a little snippet or preview somewhere in the video. And the email, I was like, okay, congratulations. I'm opening it up. And they say, you are selected for selection day. Now, selection day is basically where usually back before COVID, it used to be in person, where you go to the schools. It's basically you're doing your demo lesson. So you're the teacher, the other interviewees and the people who are interviewing you are also the students, and you're doing a demo, right? You're demonstrating your abilities as a future teacher, right? So luckily for us, remember, I live in South Dakota, so luckily for us, we got to do it virtually. So I did this in the comfort of my room. I sat on my little desk, y'all. I put on my little sweater. I'm repping South Dakota right now, but I had a gray sweater on. And, it was giving very much comfort in my own home, but I'm professional on Zoom. So, I was ready for it. What kind of? So, selection day, right? So let me jump into it. So March 10th, I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself. I have like a little list listed out right here. So I heard back on March 10th for selection day, right? So let's jump back. And then on selection day, which was March 30th, this is when the interview happened. So that's when I dressed up and I looked nice. Before selection day, y'all, or maybe like, I think it was like 3 hours before selection day, y'all, I reread the instructions and I realized that I needed to actually prepare a PowerPoint of my lesson. Now, this is a rookie mistake, right? Because I'm gonna be a teacher. I'm gonna be using Google Slides. I'm gonna be using smart boards. Of course, I need like an actual like PowerPoint of my lesson. And I did not have that prepared 3 hours before the lesson. And then I had to go back through all the exemplars that they had given us and everything. And my dog loves that bone, girl. She eating that up. She eating it all the way up. So if you hear that again, it's my dog. So I looked at the exemplars. I'm like, okay, this is how I'm gonna prepare my lessons. So just so you know, they basically give you like a list of lessons and topics that you can teach, and you choose which one you're going to do on selection day. So I looked at the exemplars, I looked at the list that they gave us, and I said, okay, I'm gonna align my topic that I chose from the list with the exemplar, and this is how I'm gonna set up my PowerPoint, right? So I set up my PowerPoint like that. Guys, I felt so prepared but unprepared at the same time. But I knew that I got this far and I need to leave this small town. So I still went ahead and did it, even though I might prepare my PowerPoint like last minute, right? So I went ahead, did the interview. I thought I didn't get it because I fumbled at some point in my interview, because my internet gave out. I came back on, I missed a whole like little chunk of like explanation that they gave in directions. So I was just like, oh my God, I'm literally physically nervous now. So I fumbled a little bit, but at the end of the day, just know that when you apply for the teaching fellows, I'm just saying this, I don't know if this is necessarily the case, but this is how I feel. This is the perception. If you got a brain, you got a degree, you got a clean record, you're not a felon, and you present yourself somewhat professional, you're probably gonna get into the teaching fellows. And I'm gonna jump further into that probably in a different video, but I'm just letting you know you're probably gonna get in, right? Just prepare, at least prepare and know your content that you chose a topic. At least have some sort of knowledge. So if they ask you questions like, oh, what is a simile versus a metaphor? You can say a simile is da 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 da, a metaphor is da 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 da. Just be at least mentally prepared, but you probably will get in, right? Just prepare. So selection day passed, and then I heard back on April 6th that I got into the teaching fellows. Woo, woo, I'm moving to New York. I'm moving to New York. Oh. Guys, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, do I have enough money saved? Do I, I'm moving to New York. Like, oh my God, this was a lot. Even being here right now, I'm like, love it here, but moving here was stress. Not somebody's car a lot. Okay, they got it together because, okay. So, even getting here has just been a journey. Let's just say that. And as I said, the journey here is even funny in itself because my car did the most. I might have to have a story time. So, driving from South Dakota to New York, think about 24 hours of a car being a mess and moving. Story time, right? So, I got in on April 6th, and I had to get myself together because when you get in now, you got to sign up. So I'm going to give you now a detailed rundown, kind of like a detailed rundown of the next steps, right? And this is public information available online. If you search for the guide, they will have it there. So this is not something that I'm spilling that's like privacy or whatever. This is actually available online. It's Google. Just Google. Google has everything, right? So basically, you need to register for the state licensing exams for the content area that you're teaching. Mind you, when you apply for the teaching fellows, just know that you only have the option of teaching high needs content areas. So you're not going to apply for the teaching fellows thinking you're going to be an English teacher. You're not going to apply for the teaching fellows thinking you're going to be a social studies or a music teacher. Those right now in this time are not high needs content area. Maybe in the future it might be, but humanities necessarily isn't always high needs. So just keep that in mind, that if you are going into the fellows, you're probably going to be a students with disability teacher. So that's a SPED teacher, or you're going to be a ESL teacher, so English as a second language teacher, or English language learners teacher, or you're going to be some sort of science teacher, or like a biology teacher, or like a chemistry teacher, physics teacher. Just know that those are the high needs areas. Basically, STEM fields are what they're looking for in teachers in New York City and the fellows. Just a heads up, right? So you gotta take your content area test. So look it up. You can take the CST content area test. You have to take the, believe it's the EAS content area test. You gotta get your fingerprinting done, right? Your fingerprinting usually had to be done in person at 65 Court Street, but I believe because of COVID, that changed a little bit. However, because I lived in a small town, I still had to drive 6 hours to go get my fingerprinting done. So I'm telling you, my moving situation was just a hassle because living in a small town in the middle of nowhere, America, that's just kind of how it is, right? So I had to drive 6 hours, plan time, take time off of work, in May, drive 6 hours, get fingerprinting done. I actually went with a friend and my dog, a friend and my dog. We stayed at a hotel and then we stayed in Denver, Colorado, because that was the nearest city that we could get my fingerprinting done. And my dog had her fun, but we also have fun too because we went out clubbing. We did what needed to be done, okay? We were like, we're in the city because we're not used to the city from the small town. So we went out and it was fun, but I also got my fingerprinting done. I think they have a contract with this company called Identico or something like that. You guys can look it up. But I guess they are like the third-party vendor that you will go to get your fingerprinting done, and then you'll be able to get your fingerprints transferred to the city of New York. That's a whole different conversation today. They transfer your fingerprints to the city of New York, not the state of New York. Keep that in mind. We'll talk about that soon. So, got the fingerprinting done, and then guess what? Time is ticking. Now it's time for me to move to New York City to start the teaching fellows, right? So this is in June. So I gotta get my booty up, gotta drive all the way to New York, gotta find an apartment, do all of that in June so I can start June 17th, or I believe June 21st, actually, or maybe it was the 22nd, one of those dates, we had to start our training for the teaching fellows, right? So now I gotta make that journey across the country. So let's talk about the first 2 weeks of the teaching fellows. And let's jump into the teaching fellows as a whole, because this is gonna be super, super spicy and you guys don't wanna miss out on this. So tune into the next video, guys, because this next video is going to give you what the actual teaching fellows is like, and you don't want to miss out, because you're either going to love it, or you're either going to be like, is this going to be for me? Or you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to try it out and see, if it's worth it. But just so you know, this next video is the video that you don't want to miss. Remember to like and subscribe. I am the traveling teacher. Have a blessed day. Ra-ta-ta-ta. Okay? Ra-ta-ta-ta. Okay, have a good one, guys. Thank you for tuning in. And remember to subscribe and like. All right, bye.